he do his camp. You know what I'm saying? So they're all there. It's never like a situation where they're not there. You feel me? And I think it's something that people feel like is attainable. So as much as like, they want us to be doctors, engineers, it's like I can't see that. I don't know what a doctor looks like in my neighborhood. You get what I'm saying? But I know what a football player look like. They at the games. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, they know what that look like. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's what I would attribute it to. Is that is like it's attainable. Like growing up on the park, like you see Chad Johnson pull up at your game because his mama stay right around the corner because I played at Liberty City. It was different. You know what I'm saying? Like you got guys in the league pulling up at the games. You got high school coaches. Like you go to see Northwestern and all them at the games. Like the coaches are at your game watching you. You know what I'm saying? And when we was coming up, football was every day in, day out, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's
So like, what was your off season looking like?
off season. We did track, we did basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I played basketball at the park too. And this is how I kind of got around the different coaches and communities was like, I played for City of North Miami. I played for Pepper one year. Then I played for Cagney. That's a big thing. If you from North Miami, there's like a big, like you almost like a trader. You know what I'm saying? But that was the two parks. Their park system was different than Optimus, where we were. You got Gwen Cherry, you had the Boys Club, you had West Grove, which was Coconut Grove. You had other teams that we played, right? Yeah, and then I ran track. And so that's what the off season consisted of. Like as I got older, it was track and but mainly basketball. Like I did basketball more than I did.
Because I'm trying to see what the differentiator is with football down here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's on another level than anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So like do they start earlier?
Yeah,
Or do you think
it starts early, like way early.
like what age?
Like Texas, I think Texas is probably on the same level with us as far as like how early they start, right? You talking about you got kids. Pee Wee is like 5 years old. You know what I mean? So 5 years old, you crash test dummy. like I didn't start at 5. I started around 8. You know what I mean?
So you was late.
Yeah, so I was a little late compared to a lot of other folks. But 65, like when I was coming up, that was like I think Pee Wee's wasn't a thing when I was coming up. So I think you had like the 65 pound, and I was like 6 years old. So I was like maybe like 2 years late. And but I played street ball, but it was a difference. I quickly learned there's a difference between street ball, like in sandlot, and like organized sports. You know what I'm saying? It's a total difference.
What's the
Like,
difference?
the biggest difference is, like when you playing in the street, y'all line up, y'all run y'all routes. Don't know, it's kind of improvised. Don't nobody know what's nothing going on. You know what I mean? But it's organized when you come to like football. You got X's and O's. You got, hey, you on this line. You got to be, one receiver got to be on the line. One receiver got to be off the line. You got 4 down linemen. You got linebackers. You got the safety. You playing in the street, it ain't necessarily, is you got your man. It's man to man. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much like the biggest difference.
What about the level of how would you describe like the coaching
Um,
down here that you experienced and others
I was
experienced?
I was fortunate to have NFL players as coaches, right? Um, my late coach, Coach Lavelle. Coach Lavelle, he was security for a lot of people down here, in the Miami like nightlife scene. But Coach Lavelle played for the Dallas Cowboys, played D line for the Dallas Cowboys. And he say, you better go hard, or I'm like, it was basically like, you better hit him or I'm gonna hit you. And that, like, and then Coach Pete, Smash Mouth Football, I never forget that. You know what I mean?
He played in the league too?
Now Coach Pete was small, he was short, but I don't think he played in the league. But he played football. I think he may have went to college or something. But he was real short, and he just, like, I think that's where I got like that heart from. Like, it don't matter who's in front of you. Like, we gonna play Smash Mouth Football, no fear. Like, his thing was Smash Mouth, no fear. And that's something that always stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Even through life, it was like Smash Mouth, no fear. Like, you feel me? I got this thing, pure heart, strong mind, no fear. You know what I mean? So, and I get that from those formative years and playing 90s under Coach Pete, because that's when I learned how to play linebacker. Me and Levante David, that played for Tampa Bay. Like, we literally started at linebacker the same year. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's what we learned. You know what I mean? Was Smash Mouth, no fear. And it was like we got, I think, all the extra stuff, we didn't know like what else was going on. You know what I mean? Like that was our escape, you know, like it was like when we were younger. The older you got, the more inclined you were to all the different things, the gambling on the side, the side bets and all this different stuff. But for me, because of who my parents was, and we wasn't so much so of the neighborhood, um, you know, I kind of was like kept out of that. You know what I mean? So I played just to have fun, you know, where it's other cats, they played because it was like it's money on the line. Like, you know what I mean? Like they get a touchdown, they getting paid. You know, like my people's was kind of like shunned away from that stuff. So I did get a little, you know.
Did you see guys? Did you you know, what was your work ethic outside of like coach pushing them? Like, what was the internal drive, or how much of it was like just socially kind of externally induced?
Yeah, I think it didn't come till later for me, like high school. Work ethic wise. Like, don't get me wrong, like basketball, I worked at it. Like we played, like our work ethic was we gonna go out from sun up to sundown, we gonna play football. You know what I mean? Like that's what we
Where
did
did
when we
y'all
was
play?
kids. Like that's what we did when we was kids. Like
Where? In the street.
in the streets, we just used to play football sun up to sundown. So it wasn't that's why I say it wasn't necessarily organized, but it was like you learn like different moves that somebody gonna like. One of my one of like my coach stayed right next door to me. You know what I'm saying? So like his son would play with us all the time, and then you would learn like different moves from different people. And like I play defense.
Do they still do that, or is it
nah,
not? Not
the
really.
kids ain't outside like they used to be, man. They on the video games. You know, so I think they have more of a mental thing with them. It's more the game. They always say, you know, we say sports is 90% mental, 10% physical. And I think they took that to heart and really are in the game. So they took it to a different level as far as the plays and what's gonna happen inside the game, you know, getting into your head, you know, the mental side, you know. But as far as like I know for me, the work ethic side didn't come in until I started to see certain benefits like track. Like I only ran track because I wanted to have more endurance for football. I wasn't that good at it, you know what I'm saying? Like I
What were
ran
some of the other benefits that came with like football excellence?
um talking about as far as what?
Just in general.
You had discipline, you had a schedule.
But I mean, like when you're in middle high school, like the social benefits.
Oh, the social, oh, of course, like because everybody know everybody. You know what I mean? Like I know for me that's my like that was my right, like I don't want to say rites of passage, but that was like how I earned my stripes. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to fight people. I didn't have to do other. There was like Munch play football. He real good. He fast. Like you know what I'm saying? Like he could tackle too. Like and so like people kind of like just left you alone. You know what I mean? Like you can hang with the tough guys. Like you know what I'm saying? The gangsters in the school. Like and that was another thing. Like some of these guys that was on my team like was really on that. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up not really realizing until like one of them got hurt, and he just recently passed. He did some time in jail. Um KV. KV got hurt one time, broke his collarbone. And I never forget. They had to escort him to the ambulance. And I'm like, why are y'all escorting this man to the like it's a crowd of people surrounding him. Like to the ambulance. I'm talking about people who own the team and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I didn't realize till I got to high school, like maybe my freshman year in high school, and I realized like I really was on the team with real deal like drug dealers and killers, like you know what I'm saying? And I say that shit like not the boast about it, but like some of the top like main people was like on my team. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my friends say he played with an ankle bracelet. Like we knew that, but it was I didn't, you know, and I knew it to an extent, but yeah, I mean socially, you know, I was able to kind of be cool, but it was like you play football. You know what I'm saying? And that was always the thing. Like you play football, so you ain't got to do what we do. You know what I mean? And it was like you kind of it's like this hierarchy of respect. It's like they kind of like keep you over there. You know what I'm saying? Keep you out of stuff. You know what I mean? For the most part. So if I ever had a problem in school, like I go to them, hey man, leave him alone. He play football. Like that's what he gonna do. You know what I mean? He ain't on that. You know what I mean? So that was like pretty much the thing. You know what was it like for you? Cause you played basketball.
We filming?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Nah, we good.
I didn't realize we filming.
Yeah,
We good.
we go back and forth. That's why I say it's like, that's why I told him press record while we go so we can just flow into it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, have a natural conversation, and then, I didn't want to, hold you too long, cause we, like I said, we just getting to know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You play basketball, I play football,
yeah.
and just talk. I guess you could share your experience about like just coming up in sports. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a town called Martin, Tennessee. It's in the rural northwest corner of the state. And I, like you described, football, it was like that for me with basketball. But my parents did push academics and education and Black history.
Me too.
And so I grew up really reading a lot. And but it wasn't celebrated. What was celebrated was basketball
Mhm.
and basketball achievement. And I spent a lot of my childhood in Memphis, which is really a basketball city,
Yeah.
more of an urban, gritty city. Memphis parallels Liberty City, Carroll City, Overtown, Opelika.
Mhm.
And so I kind of had the rural experience, which is a lot of racism.
Mhm.
And then you had Memphis was really a Black city, which was driven by basketball. I mean, we all grew up, Penny Hardaway was out Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basketball, I saw basketball as a ticket out of the social, the racial, social atmosphere of Northwest Tennessee. And so I was trying to go SEC and all that, and I had a big injury in high school,
Mm.
and this is where I kind of framed it the athletic lottery, because you don't realize that, hey, you could be ranked number 1, 2 in the state of Tennessee, but these schools, Duke, the North Carolinas, the Georgia Techs, the Tennessees, they're gonna sign one point guard. I was a
Mhm.
point guard.
Yeah.
They're gonna sign one point guard in the world in your position.
Yeah.
So I remember, getting a lot of letters and things, and then I called back after the injury. I say, I'm calling Georgia Tech. I said, hey, I'm ready to come now. I made up my mind. They said, hey, we've already signed our point guard. It was Jared Jack.
Mm.
We've already signed our point guard for the year.
Yeah.
So I started to see offers kind of dwindle down, and then I started exploring the JUCO route.
Yeah.
Got connected with Palm Beach Community College, and I came down here, and I saw the palm trees, and I saw the diversity. And so I turned down some Division I basketball offers to take a bet on myself to go to Palm Beach Community College. And from there, I wanted to stay in Florida, ended up going to the University of Tampa. I wanted to stay in Florida. I did not want to go back to, sometimes, to motivate you, you have an or else.
Mhm.
My or else early on was, you better take care of business to do all you can do, or else you're going back to the Confederate States of America. We're going back to Dixie. So that was my early motivation. And then from there, my younger brother, he ended up coming to FIU, and he majored in computer engineering, but he ended up walking on to the basketball team and played there. And I actually, after a failed overseas career in Argentina, I got into the master's program in public administration at FIU. I packed up my car uh, in Tampa and rolled down here with no money, took out loans
Mm.
to get a master's degree. And I didn't even have anywhere to stay, really. So I snuck into my brother. He's lived in the student apartments at FIU's campus. And I ended up sneaking in for 2 semesters just to have a place to live. And I loaded up. I took like 6, you're supposed to take like 12, 15 hours. I ended up taking like 20, 21 a semester.
Yeah.
And graduating with a master's in less than a year, simply because I really didn't have anywhere to live. And I appreciate my brother to this day, because, FIU only gave you one key that you couldn't duplicate.
Yeah.
And so we used to have to actually leave the front door unlocked. And little did I know, somebody was peeping us out, and they came in there and stole my brother's laptop and all of that. So, but it just gave me an appreciation. And then from there, I wanted to stay in South Florida. And I got into the PhD program at FAU. Still no money though. So I ended up renting rooms across South Florida, and stayed in the school really till I was 30. But I mean, I worked different jobs. So I was the student athlete academic coordinator at FIU from 2009 to 2012. And so that's how I know, that's really how I became really, really acquainted with the high schools and even the high school athletes here in South Florida. So my first year, T.Y. Hilton
Yep.
was a freshman, so that whole freshman class, and they came from these high schools.
Yeah.
And that's really when I really became really in tune.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a game that the year Northwestern won the national championship, with Ja'Cory Harris was a senior in
Yeah.
high school.
2008.
And I went to that game, the semifinal game in the Orange Bowl,
Yeah.
Against Deerfield Beach, and
Yeah.
I had never seen that level of athletic excellence ever in my life.
Yeah.
And I said, "Whoa!"
That
I
team
said,
stacked too.
"Yeah." And I said, if we can just as a community or you know, really black folk across the country, if we can tap into that level of excellence and transfer that into academics, transfer that into other arenas, I think that's a blueprint for success. And I actually ended up doing my dissertation on that and on that team. And even my first book was Brighter Ways Forward,
Sport.
Reflections on Sports, Tech, and Socioeconomic Mobility.
Yeah.
And I reflect on that particular game that night. And from then on, I've been an honorary Northwestern Bull. And a salute to all the schools, but that really, that was really a defining moment for me because I've always been a fan of athletics, but I had never seen anything like that.
40,000 in the stand.
No, I had never seen anything like that. I said, this is something that's really,
You
really
got everybody from like, you got 3-4 generations of Northwestern Bulls, Northwestern alumni. And like growing up, just a little backstory on Northwestern. We at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. So majority of the staff here are Bull alumni.
Yeah.
Right. And when I tell you they, for me, we go back, we talk about academics, we talk about parents, right? My parents was big on academics and like being involved in the community, and so on the news, Northwestern would load back in the day, their alumni get on buses and they'll go down to the school board if something wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? And it was a known thing. Northwestern did that. Northwestern was known for that. And they had people who was actually in administrative positions, right? In the school board as well. So they bus loads. So, to your point, like it was like that back in the day. I don't know what happened and what was lost. But they're still like that to an extent. You know what I mean? And I think now we're coming around to it. And I think another reason is because we're so spread out now.
Yeah.
Back then, Northwestern, 3-4 generations, you got in Liberty Square, 3-4 generations in the village, 3-4 generations right in that nucleus in that neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So if something went down at Northwestern, the whole community was behind Northwestern. You know what I'm saying? And I graduated from Central. It's not the same. You know what I mean? Anybody who want to sit up here and tell that lie or fool themselves, it's just not. I used to work here, like I said, the Coach Art Center. Booker T in Northwestern, class of 50. I think Northwestern started at 59. They meet. They meet on a monthly basis from 59 all the way to current. You feel me? On a monthly basis, and all of them are in tune like that. And I think, like I said, we getting back to that with the alumni experiences and the picnics and stuff like that now. But just to go back on that whole thing with your parents, being you say academics was big, but it wasn't like celebrated.
It wasn't celebrated, on a community-wide basis.
Yeah.
It was in our home, like, it was no playing basketball if I brought anything under a B
Oh
because
yeah.
it was
We got a similar story.
yeah. I mean, look,
Yeah.
man, I'm the first generation not to pick cotton. My mom grew up in Alamo, Tennessee, picking cotton, and it was education that took them from the cotton fields, and back, that's why, and I mean, they were teachers.
Yeah.
That's why I'm big on career exposure because that's really the biggest thing that you could be in the rural South was a teacher or a preacher.
Yeah.
And the principal of the school was like the highest public official that you could have.
Yeah.
So education was really, really pushed. It wasn't the default. I think some people go into education now as a default. If I can't find anything else, let me go down to the school, see if I can get a job. But it's just been a vehicle for us throughout our history. Our leaders, Frederick Douglass taught himself how to read.
Yeah.
And became, through his writing and his speaking, created a climate really that led to the Civil War and, was pushed Lincoln, to let black troops fight. And from there to, Booker T. Washington founding the Tuskegee Institute and W.E.B. Du Bois and even Dr. King. Dr. King had a PhD.
Yeah.
And chose to go back to the South, and put his life on the line over and over and over again. But he had that academic foundation. And so, it's always been very, very important. And as you talked about football, I think the early start, and the more, we look at our educational landscape now, that's the most broken part of our system.
Yeah.
that our kids go into kindergarten already behind
Mm.
because of the lack of formal and professional education that you get before. You just said it's a difference between if you're just playing football in the streets or if you're under some organized coaching.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with our kids. It's different. If you come into kindergarten and you've never been coached, you never had and been in a professional, high quality early learning environment that other kids have, then you're 2-3 years behind
Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, and it's unaffordable,
Yeah.
it's inaccessible, it's inequitable, and it's a travesty that it has not been addressed from a policy standpoint.
Yeah.
I was there, it used to be there's it used to be an education arm of National Action Network
Yeah.
called Education for a Better America.
Mhm.
And I was the executive director for 5 years. And in New York, one of the things that we worked, so, a lot of NAN stuff is like police brutality and criminal justice, but they used to work, they always work with the mayoral administrations in New York City. And Mayor Bill de Blasio ran on universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds
Mhm.
prior to the 2013 election. And I didn't think a lot of it, and that's kind of what put it on my radar. But when he won that election, and then in 2014, he worked with Cuomo, and they put a tax on those making over $500,000 to establish universal pre-K for all
Mhm.
4-year-olds in New York City. And I spoke at a rally about it. And sometimes you do things, and you don't think about the consequences of it. Fast forward, 9 years later, my son graduates universal. He graduates from a pre-K program
Mhm.
in New York City.
Yeah.
And I looked on the side of the wall, it said pre-K for all. And the other parents that were at the graduation ceremony, they didn't know where it came from.
Mm.
They just kind of, sometimes you just take things for granted.
Yeah.
But I knew, and I knew what a game changer it was
Mhm.
for me because of his birthday. He started when he was 3.
Mm.
But before he was 3, it was like the Wild West. You were paying a tremendous amount of money, and the quality was not even as good as the universal pre-K program that we had. So I just, I want that same opportunity that my son had in New York City for kids in this community and really across the state of Florida to have it. And it's a real priority.
So let's get into like some of these inequities and how the disparities a little bit, because I had a few conversations prior to this conversation about just education and childcare in general, and one of the conversations that came up was like, a mother, we talked about, and I think we talked about this earlier about a single mother who has a job. She got to work 10, 12 hours to put food on the table. And then you telling me that the VPK program is only 3 hours. They got to pick them up by 2. She may not have lunch break or have to rely on another family member or somebody else to go pick that child up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So these are the things that factor in when you talk about this universal pre-K for all, right?
Absolutely. It's awful. And just being in that situation, it's even those that they used to be middle class
Yeah, yeah,
with the housing costs, no one really has that much discretionary income.
yeah.
And so if you're
Agreed.
going to try to, figure out, a way to just have your child, just somebody looking after them,
Mhm.
because a lot of times we can't afford, I'm saying we,
Yeah, yeah,
we can't afford
yeah.
to put our children in a high quality early learning situation. And so it really it's a 2-generation workforce issue.
Mhm.
People are making the choice between, do I even just stay home, or even do I even go to work at all?
Yeah,
And then a lot of people a lot with families are just silently leaving here because you can't afford,
yeah,
I can't afford housing and childcare.
yeah,
So you're silently leaving, and then our kids are really the ones that really suffer because you come in behind, you stay behind by 3rd grade, and by 3rd grade you should be reading to learn,
mhm.
and you continue to feed the school to prison pipeline. Because if you're
Well,
reading fluently by 3rd grade, you're 6 times more likely to graduate high school.
mhm.
High school dropouts 5 times more likely to be incarcerated. And so that you just see the link between incarceration and literacy rates.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, expound on that when you said you should be at 3rd grade, you should be reading to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you should be. So they say that you're learning to read. Kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. By 3rd grade, you should now know how to read and be reading to learn something, not just
reading the word, just reading the
not
words
learning
on
to
paper.
read. And so you almost have two different cohorts
Mhm.
of students as you move on down, those that can read and those that can't, because your reading proficiency links to your ability to do math, your ability to take in additional higher level content, and even to be competitive academically and ultimately economically.
All right, and then let's talk about this school to prison pipeline a little bit, because people talk about it. It's been
Yeah.
a catchphrase for years, but let's get into like the direct correlation so people can understand, a little bit more if you could.
Yeah, well, it's really personal. I spent 4 years as a district administrator with the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project, big dropout prevention and mentorship program founded 30 years ago by Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. It's in over 130 schools. So I'm well acquainted with Central and Norland, and it's in almost every elementary school that's in the Black community,
Yeah.
in middle school, K-8. And the mission is to disrupt the school to prison pipeline. And it does a tremendous, scholarships, the whole nine. It does a great job. But even this is when I understood that even programming is not enough. Like we need policy to reach, because there are a lot of kids at the 5,000 don't reach, and you just need policy to supplement,
Yeah.
not supplant, but to supplement, the efforts of. There are
I
great
think
teachers
that's how we
like that.
met. I think I
Yeah.
knew you was working with 5,000 role models. And I say, hey, y'all do a good job with elementary. We got a lot of childcare. We got VPK programs right now. We got the high school mentoring programs. But I was like, it's nothing for middle school.
Yeah,
I think that's how
right.
that's how me and you met. Like,
That's right.
we really got the link up. And I was like, it's nothing about
Yeah.
middle school,
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. And so we're in a number of different hats now. One of them was with the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust.
Yeah.
And we partnered with University of Miami in 2023 and did a report examining youth arrest trends from 2010 to 2022. We had the data basically for every youth arrested in Miami-Dade County, and it showed tremendous disproportionality. Black youth make up around 17% of the youth population, 63% of the arrests. This is 2022.
Yeah.
63% of the arrests. Black males make up 9% of the youth population, 52% of the arrests. Black males make up 9% of the youth population, 52% of the arrests. And so I had to really sit with that data. And it was really, despite everybody's best efforts, we have to have even broader menu of solutions. And as I dove deeper into some of those solutions, and it's multifaceted, there's a law enforcement, certainly, and a profiling aspect to it. But then there's also this link with literacy. 85% of those who are in contact with the juvenile justice system aren't at grade level or aren't, are functionally illiterate. And 70% of prison inmates don't read above a 4th grade level. And that links back down to before they enter. If you're coming into kindergarten already behind, and then you're staying behind. So if we don't fix that early part, then we'll always be putting on Band-Aids later on down the line.
Dope, yeah.
Yeah, so
on the 15th, we have of this month, which is January 15th, 2025. I believe that's what, a Thursday?
it's a Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. So Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, we have education and childcare policy forum that you're hosting, right?
Yeah, well,
Tell us about that a little bit.
yeah, we really want to build a broad coalition. So Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust, South Dade NAACP, Miami-Dade NAACP, Power U, Men of Tomorrow, and any other organization that is in alignment, we invite you all to come out. It's on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s actual birthday. And one of the books that he wrote after the Birmingham movement was called Why We Can't Wait. So the event is subtitled Why We Can't Wait, the Child Care and Early Learning Imperative. And it is we need a broad coalition, a broad movement to push to create the environment, the policy environment for increased investment in early childhood learning and early childhood education, beginning with universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds in the state of Florida. If we can't get Florida in Miami-Dade County, and then on down the line, 3-year-olds as well. California passed a bill in 2021 for a phased-in universal pre-K for 4 and 3-year-olds. I mentioned New York City has it for 4-year-olds. They had it for a decade. New Jersey has it for all 4-year-olds and most 3-year-olds. So if you're starting school in these other states 2 years before Florida,
Mm,
so I think that it's an imperative that, beginning with the 3 and 4-year-olds, but hopefully moving on down to 3 months because, it's again, we can either make the investment on the front end or we can make it on the back end.
yeah. I'm trying to see because I know we crunch for time. Um, I asked you about the school prison pipeline. Um, how do you what's the strategy or the plan? Because the money gotta come from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you know a little bit about like, the appropriations in the state, that sort of thing, and how that would possibly be paid for?
Well,
Because you talked
yeah.
about how it was done in New York, but do you have any type of kind of like idea of what it would look like in Florida?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to raise, some revenue.
Mhm.
And I think if you look at the model that New York did and raising taxes on those making over 500,000, creating a permanent funding stream and source, that's one potential, uh, way that, you could also take a look at, we're paying, the massive corporate tax cuts that we have. Those are like handouts
Yeah, literally.
to the wealthiest Floridians.
Mhm.
So, you can take a look at that, and that's another potential funding stream. So it's a matter of, budgets are moral documents. It's a matter of what do we want to invest in and what do we see worthy of investing in. We have a governor who wanted to invest in flying migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard.
Exactly.
So it's
Literally.
so so I mean, we choose what we want to invest in, and I don't think there's a more important investment than expanding pre-kindergarten for 4-year-olds and then for 3-year-olds, and that's a start. I want to just start right there. I
Yeah.
think that's the most important investment that we can make right now at this time.
Alright, and so, you know, what can people expect when they come to this event?
Well, they can expect to number one be in conversation, be in collaboration with like-minded people, right? They can understand a legislative update because we do plan on, there is already a bill, Senate Bill 70, that was proposed by Senator Lori Berman out of Palm Beach County to expand pre-K to full day, and we'll have a more in-depth legislative update
Mhm.
at that point in time, um, and then you'll get a chance to, and it's not just you'll get a chance to be heard. It's going to be interactive. People will get a chance to speak and share their experiences. Because I certainly don't have all of the
Yeah.
all of the answers. We want to hear from those that are experiencing on the ground, and anybody who has insight into how to best design policy, how implementation should look on the ground, and then how can we build a new coalition to push for the change that's needed, the federal, state, local level. So it's gonna be if you come on the 15th, you're coming to sign up to be a part of a longer movement uh, toward the future that we need.
So it's not just come to this meeting and
And
and end all be all. It's
no,
like you have something to look forward to after this. Like this is just the first step.
right?
You know, I think a lot of times when we not to get too long-winded, but
Yep.
we come to these meetings and we want everything to be done in the meeting, and it's like, no, this is just the first step to get everybody on the same page,
Right.
and then after that, we want to make sure that okay, we follow up with y'all and say, all right, the next step is to go to Tallahassee, during legislative session. You know what I mean? Follow us then. We need maybe about 2 or 3 of y'all to come down here and do public comment down there. Then come another step may be to come down into the local, if you can't make it to the state, come down to the local and then make your statement and make your, let your voice be heard there, right? And, I think about the school board, I go to a school board meeting sometimes and just sit there. And like when we talk about Moms for Liberty and all these different other groups, like the reason they're able to ban the books is because they're there
Yeah.
and we're not. And we can always talk about, our folks gotta work, but it's like grandma ain't gotta work. Somebody gotta make time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think being able to organize consistently is
Mhm.
going to take, it's going to take consistency.
Yes.
One of the things some people, we have to really fight against, apathy. You fight against cynicism and distraction and discouragement. But I spoke about Dr. King during the Birmingham campaign. They had 65 mass meetings.
Mhm.
And 65, they would meet almost every night to plan, to strategize, to get information, to encourage themselves, and ultimately to, you know, to make the sacrifice. People, willingly going to jail and putting their bodies on the line and picketing, and there are many. Not everything is direct action, but you do have to take a level of consistency. It's not just going to be one meeting.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be, one
Strategy.
yeah, one strategy, but bringing whatever you have, right, whatever you have to the table. Some people want to be more engaged in the policy. Some people are ready for direct action. It could be just tweeting, it could be emailing, letter writing. We have to move this issue from the periphery to the center,
Mhm.
and we have to really dramatize it. And
Yeah.
and we need people. We need a coalition.
Yeah.
We need numbers.
Anything else you wanna say before we get out of here?
I just want to thank you for your continued engagement and authenticity, and being willing to be of service, to give your time and your talent, and it really shines through.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
a big fan of you and the Trapping Ain't Dead podcast. Before we came on air, I mentioned that when I spent that year in New York City, that's how I stayed informed.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Miami Herald. It wasn't watching the news. I would watch some of that, but really, Trapping Ain't Dead was really what gave me the real on the grounds insight in terms of what was going on behind the scenes, and the moves that were being made. I think there was a hurricane that took place during that time, and the
Yeah.
kind of relief
Earthquake.
efforts that you all were engaged in. So I think it's just really needed.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, like, Hurricane Irma is what sparked it. It was like, "Nah, I gotta do it." Because I seen, me and V, of course, Valencia Gunder, she had this idea to start this community emergency operations center, which was, we gonna do what we gotta do for the hood, because the power go out and we never get any services. And me and her, we did this thing. I just followed her. And I never forget that you go in Little Haiti, you go in Liberty City, you go in Opelika, you go in the city, totally different situation than going in Brickell, going downtown, going Aventura. It was like night and day. You know what I mean? And the media coverage wasn't there. Like, you'll see down power lines and no cones or no caution tape, no nothing. You know what I mean? Where we was. But you'll see that in Aventura, you'll see it in Brickell. And that was like, I need to tell this side of the story, like, that people need to see it. Like, we always talk about the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's what made me get started in that. You know what I mean? And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cause you know what I mean? Because my thing is, it ain't about the money most of the time. It's about, like, we gotta get the word out. We gotta, let people know what's really going on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm about to, do something with Ponciana tonight. Another meeting that I'm live streaming. We will be live streaming the event that night, the policy forum.
Yeah.
I guess I'll tell them that they can find it on All Like Minds Media, or find it on MD. We're gonna try to make sure it's on y'all Facebook pages and whatnot, and yeah, make that happen. Cause I just believe it. Like, some things need to get out. Like
Yeah.
like, all this transactional stuff, like, it's cool, but it's like, if, like, what we gonna have, like, if the neighborhood's lost, like,
Yeah.
I've been here my whole life and I'm just seeing it dwindle, like, piece by piece. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got to come together. We need everybody, but we need a lot of folk.
Yeah.
We need one thing that my experience with the 5,000 role models taught me is that you need a team.
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned the middle schools. I mean, it's like 40 middle schools in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I learned quickly that it can't just be about you,
Mhm.
and you can't do it. I just mentioned the 5,000 was in over 120 schools. If I go to one school, if I go to 5 schools and exhaust myself, it's 115 you didn't go to. So I'm depending on whoever is at the school,
Mhm.
to work with them to be able to give our community what we need. So none of us can do it by ourselves. We all need each other. And so, hey, come be a part of the movement.
Yeah, we may have to do a follow-up, man,
Yeah.
because we get into it, and I know you gotta go, but
Yeah.
it's just so much stuff, man, that we could talk about, just about in education in general,
Yeah.
and what needs to be done, man. So I appreciate you for your time.
Appreciate you,
You know
bro.
what I mean?
Thank you.
And yeah, man, we gonna get some stuff done. Talk about. I bring you back. We can talk about different things that's in education that need to be discussed. Have other people to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because from a policy standpoint, we talk about teacher pay, these different things that should happen. PTSA, you know what I mean, needs to be better, needs to be stronger. But like you said, like if we can't directly involve the parents, what what are other people, other community stakeholders that are like important to that community? Whether it's the coaches, whether it's the
Yep.
the cheerleader, cheerleading coaches, the football coaches, the basketball coaches, the track coaches. You know what I'm saying? These all these extracurricular activities, the arts. How do we use these different mediums to get people engaged and understand like what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
so
You want to do a quick intro?
yeah, I guess I thought about that like in my mind. So I don't even know because here's the thing, like it's not for trap, it's not for like you know what I mean. So
So keep it general. Just say, hey, today we're over here with.
yeah, um, yeah. Hey, who I'm talking to? This camera, that camera. I feel like that camera is like so far away, but what's good? It's your boy Munch. Um, James Munchin. That's my government name. For people that don't know. I'm here with Dr. Marcus Bright, author, advocate. I hope I don't miss anything, but I know you do a lot of things. Mentor to a lot of folks. And we're just having a discussion about this policy forum, this education and child care policy forum that we got coming up. Yeah, man, tune in. I don't care if I stumble. I'm good.
I
Like,
appreciate it much.
yeah.